welcome to Beyond Film School, and in this video we are going to be talking to real life editors and what a day is like for them. Before I jump into the lives of editors, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos I make on the film industry, and if you really want to be on the up and up, be sure to hit that notification bell. Now, these interviews were done via Zoom, so you know the deal. Please be forgiving of any footage or quality of footage. And there is also a working mom who is also an editor in the union, so don't be alarmed if you hear some child noises every now and then in the background. We're going to jump into how many hours they might work, their workflow, who they're working with, and some of the other things they might be doing besides cutting their projects together. Okay, so let's jump into the life of an editor. And we're starting with Dennis. He was a great interview, and he is based in Los Angeles, and he works mostly with commercials, but he is a freelance editor, so he does all kinds of projects.
Take me through like morning to going home. What's your day look like, your routine?
I wake up, I stay home, I'm always home. I never leave home. That's the current situation, but well, usually, I wake up, do morning stuff, coffee, workout, all that stuff, and then, get onto Zoom if I have a meeting with someone, or emails usually. That's the preferred way. And then, just get to work for, depending on the job, 8 to 10 or 12-hour day.
Do you find it difficult to be working from home?
No, actually, one of the reasons why I think the pandemic didn't affect me as much as others is even last year, I worked more than 6 months from home before all of this. And one of the reasons is because I do color grading as well. So I have a really fancy schmancy workstation at home. Now
we're going to chat with Cisse, and she is a broadcast/sports editor, and she's based in Chicago.
So when I was working at Stadium, which is the sports network, what we would do is we'd get in at like 6 o'clock, 6:30, and our show started shooting at 8. So around 6:30, producers should have some stuff for us created, and everything goes into iNews, and we're able to access all that stuff. So we'd crank out videos. We do, like individually, we do anywhere from like 80 to 50 videos a day. And that's with 4 shows. 4 shows. So we would crank those out in the morning, and then usually in the afternoon it was like downtime, because by that point we would finish everything, and then it would be like individual stuff, like socials asking for XYZ, or like talent wants these videos edited together for their reels. Like we would do separate stuff like that. But so that was the full-time job at Stadium. It was very, intense in the morning and then relaxed in the afternoon. And then at Marquee.
Just an FYI, Marquee is a sports network and a sports production company.
What we were editing there were like full games, so like Cubs classics. So just kind of cutting down everything for time. And honestly, we would spend we would just come in, get coffee, go at it, and then break for lunch whenever, come back and go at it.
This is like just a nice,
it was
like relaxing.
Yeah, it was just like constant work, and just, every now and then step out to like socialize with the people outside. I enjoyed that one the most because it was just an edit bay with me and one other person, and if he wasn't there, then it was just myself. And it's just like, you zone in and you go at it.
Now we get to meet Crystal. She is a freelance editor, and she's based in Orlando, Florida.
To be honest, I try and aim for 5 to 6 hours of editing time. It's a lot of work. Like, your mind is like constantly thinking creatively, and you constantly it can get tiring. So yeah. I don't know how people can do 10 hours. That's like, if you want me to do 10-hour day, I can't do that. That's way too much. One day I would do it, but like for a whole week, no. It's a lot. It's a lot in your head. It's tired on your body. So I use stand-up desk to help with that situation. Just stand up. If I feel tired, then I'll go sit down. Usually 4 hours is about average, to be honest. I would work 1 hour in the morning before breakfast, and then talk to clients. Like, you will get emails. Usually Monday's the worst day. Everyone wants something on Monday.
Yeah.
So I usually don't take the day off on Sunday. So I use Sunday to catch up and have videos ready to be sent to the client. And then Monday is like, okay, I already done it yesterday. So it's just more like management and a lot of communication. There's so many emails, and if you don't reply back quick enough, they get like anxious and don't trust you, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So as soon as I get a text or email, I reply back, say, hey, I'm working on it. Hey, this is what I have so far. Music is kind of hard too, or graphics. If you ever get stuck, I had to like look up tutorials on like, oh, maybe I should do this effect, like a transition effect or a certain look. I would look up on YouTube. So that usually learning is part of the working time too.
That's another thing a lot of young people don't know, is it is fatiguing to stare at a computer screen and edit, because every frame counts for, you know, a 12-hour day. In fact, I would argue most editors are only productive for 4 hours of that day when they really are able to drive and do a ton of work.
That's not even half. That's not even half your day. I mean, oh my goodness, only 4 hours.
Those 4 hours, you're going to be running super fast.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing so much work. In fact, many edits, like I can do a 60 edit easily in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then the other 4 hours is mostly, you know, them reviewing it and you talking to them. In fact, I think that's fair to say about any editor is the technical, the editing itself, all of that is only 50% of your job. The other 50% is actually talking to your clients.
Now we get to talk to Yerrick. He is an owner of his own production company, with editing being a staple of his business, and he has recently, in the past year, moved from New York City to Los Angeles.
Walk me through like your daily routine.
I don't have a routine. That's the thing. It's very random. You know, obviously, couldn't set my own schedule on everything because, you know, clients have deadlines and so forth. But, you know, I was kind of lucky to usually be in a situation where my times could be very flexible and I kind of, you know, work on projects kind of whenever I felt like it. I've always been a bit of a night owl, so I always felt, especially when editing, I can get a lot more done at night. So, you know, oftentimes I would be working until 4 or 5 in the morning and then go to bed and wake up at noon and then kind of, you know, get myself together and do it all over again. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously that changes if I have a shoot where I'd have to drive down to South Jersey and be there at 8 a.m. or whatever. So it's, you know, it's a constantly changing routine in a day. So it's having a routine is not for me. I think that's kind of why I got out of the 9-to-5 game completely. Like I absolutely hate the 9-to-5 lifestyle. I know it's not for me.
Let's meet Eric. Eric is a director, he's a producer, he's a writer, and he's also an editor. And he has a ton of years under his belt. And we're going to get into the difference between editing a narrative versus a documentary.
So what's kind of like the difference between working documentary versus narrative?
The narrative's like so easy now because I've done so much documentary, and it's like it's great having a script and great having, you know, basically, you know, the coverage you have, and you know instead of infinite ways of cutting it together, there's only a couple 100,000 ways of cutting it together.
Yeah,
you know, so it becomes easier to just, because I mean I do a lot of recutting versus cutting. So, which means that on something scripted, like I just directed a movie called Escape from Area 51 that we shot in December, and there are a lot of effects and stuff that I'm doing as well. So, you know, so it's in post, and the whole pandemic thing kind of messed with our post schedule.
Yeah.
But with that movie, it takes about 60 hours for me to get a first assembly, which may be pretty close to your final cut, but, you know, more often than not. And then it's in the recutting that, you know, that you find the kind of interesting and innovative stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know, but when you're doing a scripted project, it's easy to, just follow the script and put the coverage together and make it look pretty, you know, and then you go in and start to really craft it. With documentary or anything kind of reality based, there's like almost no roadmap.
Now, if you've noticed, they all have different routines, and it really depends on the type of project you're working on. That really plays into what type of day you're going to have as an editor. Now, let's get into who they're working with.
How often do you, as an editor or, you know, we're working on these film festival projects, how often are you talking to the director? Or, are you just mostly working with the post or the producer?
So for more indie work, like when I do work on an indie film or color grade an indie film, or the stuff I'm doing right now with this documentary, it really depends on the director. Some directors are more hands-off, some are literally right here just staring at the monitor. But it tends to be a much more close relationship. In fact, often the director and editor stay with the edit for a while until they show it to the producer, so the producer can have like a fresh perspective and be like, because when you have two people sitting in a room staring at the same footage for a while, you start convincing yourself, yes, this works.
Yeah. Or it's the other way of like, no. It's like their notes keep getting worse and worse. It's like,
you're like, no, this is, whereas the producer comes in and this is great, stop, you've reached a point of diminishing returns or whatever. So for more creative indie projects, for sure, I work very closely with the director. Whereas for more the advertising world, I would work basically with what's called a creative director, who makes sure that the tone and the aesthetics and the color palette is all accurate to the brand. But in that case, I work a lot more with the producers because of the tight turnaround.
Yeah.
So it would be the creative director, the producer, the art director, and sometimes the client also in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Let's meet Nina. She is a union editor, currently working on animation shows, and she is based in Los Angeles.
So on an animated show, generally speaking, I will work most closely with the director or the producers, the showrunners, and the EPs. So it sort of depends on the size of the show. On an animated short film, for example, that's an indie short film, I'll mostly be working with the director. And on a major TV show like Duncanville, which has a lot of cooks in the kitchen, we'll say, I work most closely with the showrunner and the director, the series director. So each episode has a director, and then there's a series director that kind of takes over the whole season to make sure that the animation is consistent and the feel is consistent, the pace is consistent, and stuff like that. Of course, the network gives us notes, and Amy Poehler gives us notes because it's her show. So it's like, that's on a show that is that big, you have more. The hierarchy is a little bit more complicated.
It's very, very team effort thing. Be open-minded to like, okay, the director is telling you things, the producer telling you. So you have like, I think it was like 5 different visions that you have to try and put together into one. So the director, the DP, the producer. Usually the producer has the final say. And then sometimes the actors, because they tend to change the scene sometimes compared to the script. So you have to like, okay, I need to like adapt everything together.
So besides cutting that footage together, what else is involved in being an editor?
I sometimes joke that, whenever I get a new office, I always have a couch. And that's because my business card actually says editor/therapist. And you'd be surprised how many people just individually just come in, sit on my couch and be like, oh my God, this day happened, blah, blah, blah. They'll start going on about.
Funny enough, you have not been the only editor to say that. This is like the 3rd time I've heard this in these interviews. I'm like, it's all about the editing bay couch.
It is. It really is. That's where you really get to a feel for who you're working with and what they need out of the show. There's a lot between the lines, I think. The therapy skill is definitely something that has benefited me as an editor. Really in any job that I've done, but as an editor in particular, because it really is an emotional job in a lot of ways. I mean, when it comes to the movie, not just with working with people, but when it comes to the movie and being able to discern how somebody's going to feel when you watch it. So it's all connected, really.
Sometimes it's about the project. Sometimes it's about them gaining your trust. And sometimes it's just listening to how their day was. Because edit room is kind of like this safe space.
Yeah.
A lot of people come and hide in the couch behind you.
Friends here.
Yeah, while you're working, it's like the tree of trust or whatever, and they tell you all sorts of funny stories.
Yeah,
So,
I definitely remember that. Oh my goodness.
yeah. Sometimes it's weird stories, but usually it's good stories.
The life of an editor is going to be different for every editor out there. And as you can tell, it's all different. I mean, they're all going to be cutting together footage, but they all have different lives, different routines, and it's a little bit different for every editor out there. Now remember, it's not always about cutting the footage together, it's about your therapy skills. If you really want to dive deep and go deeper into the life of an editor, I highly recommend this book by Paul Hirsch, a long time ago in a cutting room far, far away. He has years and years of experience. He was the editor of the original Star Wars.
A galactic odyssey against oppression.
You can't really beat that. He has edited tons of other stuff. And his memoir, this book, really just tells you all kinds of stuff about what it was like being an editor. So I highly recommend that book. And if you want to get this book, the link will be below. Now, this is the second video in the editor series, and the last video was talking about the demo reel. So if you missed out, please check out that video about what you need in a demo reel for an editor, and I'll leave that link for you above. If you'd like to see more of these lovely editors in the interviews, I have the full version on my Patreon. The link to my Patreon will be below for you. So that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell, maybe hit me on Instagram, Facebook. I am available for you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please comment below. So that is it for now, and I shall see you next time.